Nerdiest Prime.
Is this the first episode where we see Riker do the Riker maneuver over the chair? The leg over the chair, the weird sitting,
Oh
weird
yeah.
sitting. And then he got right in Remmick's face like they were going to kiss. I thought they were going to kiss. He's like,
I thought it was weird because he's like about to confront this guy that he really hates, and then he like spreads his legs like that, and it's like, what is this? Like that didn't seem like a power move to me. It just seemed like a little inappropriate.
Listen here, you're going to watch my interpretive dance.
Hi, and welcome to this week's review of Star Trek The Next Generation. We are here every week reviewing episodes of The Next Generation. We're in season 1, and today we are doing episode Coming of Age. I'm joined by the Nerdiest Prime crew, Alan O'Neill.
From Halifax, you forgot.
From Halifax.
Isn't it Alan from Halifax?
Alan from Halifax. Namir from
Hi.
Toronto.
Sorry, I'm ruining the whole thing.
Star Trek: The Next Generation. Coming of Age. A tale that almost gave Wesley Crusher a one-way ticket to Starfleet failure could have ended his career before it truly began. The episode kicks off with Wesley sprinting through a corridor, apologizing to his friend, Jake Kurland, who failed his Starfleet Academy entrance exam by a measly 32 points. Jake, being the decent guy he is, brushes it off, wishing Wesley luck as he heads to the transporter room. Oh, but the drama doesn't end there. Enter Admiral Gregory Quinn, Picard's old friend, and his mystery guest, Lieutenant Commander Dexter Remmick, an investigator from the Inspector General's office sent to poke around the ship. Picard and Riker are baffled as Remmick begins asking strange questions about Enterprise operations, clearly pushing some serious buttons. Things are getting uncomfortable real quick. Back on Relva, Wesley meets his fellow candidates, including Oleana Mirren, a human girl who fawns over Wesley's Enterprise fame, despite him barely knowing what he's doing half the time, and Mordock, the Benzite, who constructed a strategy so complicated even the writers don't remember it. As the candidates battle through mind-bending tests designed to whittle them down, the Enterprise crew is being scrutinized by Remmick, whose questions are so invasive it's like he's auditioning for a job as a Star Trek villain. He grills Riker and LaForge, even asking Troy about a dead man's personal life, which definitely isn't appropriate. Back to Wesley, who's sweating over the psych test that forces you to face your greatest fear. He's in the holodeck, unsure what his worst nightmare is, until, surprise, he's thrown into a life-or-death emergency involving a lab explosion, a trapped technician, and the classic Star Trek trope of, will Wesley save them all? Of course he does, overcoming his fear of making life-or-death decisions, and in the process, wins the approval of Lieutenant Chang, who casually reveals the entire disaster was a test, because why not? Meanwhile, Jake Kurland, in a fit of melodramatic teenage angst, steals a shuttle to escape his father's disappointment. This is not a good idea. Jake somehow manages to almost crash into the atmosphere, nearly killing himself. But Picard, ever the calm voice of reason, directs him to safety in a dramatic rescue that involves basic physics and a lot of trust in the laws of nature. By the end, the results are in, and Mordock wins the coveted Starfleet Academy spot, though not without a little help from Wesley, who helped him during the test. But don't worry, Wesley. You may have lost the battle, but you've gained wisdom, which is the true Star Trek way. Picard, after a personal conversation with Wesley about competition and failure, where he also reveals he failed his own exam the first time, cliché but effective, closes the episode by assuring the young officer that his journey isn't over yet. Quinn offers Picard a promotion to Admiral and Commandant of Starfleet Academy. Picard, however, isn't biting, choosing instead to stick with the Enterprise, leaving Quinn to return to Relva. And so, the Enterprise warps away, ready for its next adventure.
That was great.
Did you say hi, Namir?
No, you didn't.
No,
but you
Alan
didn't.
did.
I
Alice
said
did.
okay.
You said Namir
Look
from,
for the
and then
Brady
you
Bunch here.
stopped.
It's like,
Okay. Let's start over. Namir from Toronto
Hello.
and Lola from Montreal. So, what did we think of Coming of Age? Let's start with Alan.
so this is one that I never really liked when I was younger and started watching Next Generation. And well, I started in like season 5 and then I went backwards. And this one kind of like, eh. But watching this one now, I feel like it is probably like almost the strongest offering, I believe, from season 1. It actually, I think it's so well written and well acted. It could be like a later episode, like season 2, maybe even season 3 if they had like better sets and costumes. But I just feel like this one was this one fired on all cylinders. Like now as a grown up watching it critically, I really love this one.
Namir.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I also really love this episode. Just only because Alan and I never agree on anything, but this is one of my, I forgot that this is actually one of my favorite episodes from season 1. And for whatever reason, it's one of those episodes that keeps getting like rerun. So I would always like catch it and be like, oh, this Wesley episode again, and then I just get sucked into it. And then I would just, every time I would forget how good it is. But I'm a big fan of this episode. I really like it.
Lola.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that this episode is totally well acted, because that one girl, Oleana, I thought her performance was a little lacking in everything. But my first impression of the episode overall is I really, really liked it. I do feel like I'm biased because I do really like coming of age shows and movies. So it was really fun to get to like explore that Trek context. Of course, it's like about Wesley, but we do get to see some other teenagers who are competing for a spot onto Starfleet Academy. So there was some interaction there. You got to know a bit more about what the nerds of the Star Trek universe are doing, I guess. Yeah, I guess I have more to say, but should I wait till later?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
That's great.
We had to be very sure of you. Someone or something is trying to destroy the fabric of everything we've built up in the last 200 years.
So I thought this was a great episode. I remember seeing this as a kid and it being a great episode and a great introduction to Star Trek, because I wasn't a Trekkie at the time. And in retrospect, I feel like this is the first episode where it really finds its footing, the show that is the series. And it's great because the episode is sort of a touchstone for the first season, in that it references previous episodes and provides a continuity, while at the same time being a springboard for a future episode. So I don't know if this was planned at the time, but this episode is kind of a part 1 of 2. The second part being conspiracy. So anyways, I look forward to reviewing that.
But it's kind of weird because it's almost a throwaway part of the episode. Like they have their meeting, and I guess we'll get to that, but they have their meeting, Picard and the Admiral have their meeting at the end, and the Admiral's like, I have reason to believe that there's a deep-seated conspiracy, blah blah blah. And then that's it. Like it's not really talked about in the rest of the episode. So if you're not kind of paying attention, you almost forget about it. I remember the first time I watched the first season, that kind of happened to me, right? I forgot about this episode when I was watching Conspiracy, and then I was like, oh, wait a second, that's the Admiral and that's Remmick, and oh, they're totally connected, and that blew me away. but if you're not really paying attention to it, it kind of almost doesn't register.
Yeah, and we'll come back to it, but I wonder how much of it was planned and how much of it was just like they just decided later, like, oh, we planted that seed that we don't know what that was actually referring to, and let's like, oh, let's just make it this thing over here. So.
I don't know. I feel like Alan would know.
Is Alan completely frozen?
I think he's thinking. He's thinking. You should take a screenshot.
I don't know. I watched this one now, and I mean, I don't remember now what I've read in the past about this, if it was planned or not. I mean, I know after Conspiracy, they kind of just dropped the whole thing anyway, which is too bad because everybody's always wanted to kind of revisit that, and no one has done it yet. But I've always watched this one, and I'm like, I'm trying to if Remmick and Quinn are already compromised or not. I'm not sure. I feel like Remmick isn't because he's kind of his personality is different, where he wants to be, part of the Enterprise crew at the end, and he's kind of like, oh, geez, I just love it here,
Picard's like,
so that doesn't really come off in the later episode where he's more like kind of subdued and sinister. Where Quinn, he could be, because I feel like he was trying to put Picard in a place of power, and he says he wants to do it, because he wants his friends in high places or whatever, and who he can trust. But at the same time, like, is it the parasites trying to get him on Earth, close to them, in a position of power to implant him? I don't know. That's what I was kind of wondering. I'm like, are they compromised, looking for clues?
I want you guys to stop because this is all news to me.
Oh shit.
Okay. Well.
Well, you know what? I didn't hear a thing. So
okay, let's.
It is interesting to hear like that things are being planted now because I didn't know that. But yeah.
Well, and also the Borg originally were supposed to be an insectoid race before they realized it was going to be way too expensive to produce, and they turned it into a cybernetic race. But those parasites were supposed to be like the vanguard of the Borg. But anyways, so first keyword is conflict, and I'm referring to conflict that's being introduced by having Remmick on board. Go.
Remmick's going to turn this ship upside down. Sir, am I under investigation?
I don't know.
Well, I thought that Riker's reaction to Remmick was a little extreme and melodramatic because I understood why having Remmick around investigating would be super uncomfortable and super annoying. But like Riker gets really aggressive. And I just thought it was unprofessional. And that it's another example of Riker's unprofessionalism in the workplace. I also thought Picard was a little weird about it, like almost sarcastic. But it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, this was another example where, again, and I mentioned this before, where they had to bring in external stimulus to bring the conflict because, again, we got a ship of the get-along gang here. So, I mean, the conflict has to come from an external source, and bringing, a Remmick on board to rub everybody the wrong way was just a good way to build tension and drama, that I think, really served this episode well because, it could have been super boring and super dry, but, him being on board and having everyone on edge, I mean, made it it was more suspenseful than your typical early Next Generation episode because you weren't sure what he was going to find, how people were going to react, is there something to find, and so I like he was a good, and they were good characters to bring on board. Like I mean, our last Admiral there was the de-aging guy who was super boring and not very good, and Quinn was a much more interesting character, and so I like that they come aboard and just brought the conflict and tension with them.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I understand what Lola's saying about Riker, but that didn't strike me as odd. Like, I feel like it fit with the way he was being portrayed in the first season, like kind of brash, kind of young, feeling like somebody is stepping into his territory and not liking it, not really having enough experience to kind of understand what's going on. And then later on, he comes out, after he has his little Riker tantrum, he leaves and then comes back and is like, "I'm really sorry, that was unprofessional." So he's kind of like I get that reaction, because I think the deal was he thought that Remmick was investigating him, so he was super sort of on guard, and he had his haunches up and that kind of stuff. So I understand that reaction. I liked it because it seemed a little bit different, and it added some life to the scenes. He was almost yelling at Picard, and Picard's like, relax, take it down a notch. So I enjoyed it. I think that added a lot to the drama and the conflict in the episode.
When did he apologize?
Afterwards. So he leaves, and then he comes back. He gets off the turbo lift, and then he's like, "I apologize for my unprofessionalism" to Picard. And Picard's like, "No, don't worry about it. I completely understand." And then that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like you don't believe me.
I don't remember that either.
What? You guys do not pay attention to these episodes. He
I feel
absolutely
like
did.
you're making stuff up again. You haven't watched.
What do you mean again?
You
I've never made stuff up.
You did, but when you didn't watch that episode 2 weeks ago,
It was only because it was.
You were like,
you didn't watch it.
You started making stuff up. You're like, oh, I don't remember that thing happening. No, but this over here, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, remember that time they introduced the Borg in the first season? It was amazing.
Well, I thought that I really like Riker's reaction in this because, as we've talked about before, like the characters can be kind of stuffy and kind of like inanimate, and not really human in the first season. And then in general, and there's not a lot of conflict, and there's not a lot of people being just sort of bent out of shape and pissed off on the crew of the Next Generation, because they're supposed to be like these super placid humans. But it's fun once in a while to see like what's the expression, the chink in the armor, the flaw or whatever. And it's like, and to really see like Riker get pissed off, it's like cool. It's like it makes him human. And I like that he's like imperfect, and that he's pissed off about it. And I like how he kind of really puts Remmick in his place, because Remmick is kind of like a slime ball from the second he gets on board, and you just want somebody to punch him so bad. So when Riker tells him to like, "When I'm ready, I'll talk to you," that's a great moment. And when during the shuttlecraft rescue, when he starts like, bitching at Picard, Picard says, "Either you will shut up, or I'll remove you from the bridge." And I was like, yes. I wanted to see like a security guy come over and just give him a right cross, and carry him off.
I feel bad for Remmick, because he's just a guy that's just doing his job. Like, he's probably really good at his job.
I feel like this guy, and I agree with Riker's reaction too. Like, again, even if it does come off as unprofessional, I'm like, Remmick's basically an efficiency expert. And if you've been any workplace where one of these people comes in and is trying to tell people how to do their job and how they can be doing better, and people just get super defensive and standoffish, and that's what Riker did. It's like, I don't want you here telling us, what's wrong with us. Get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
That's basically, and you see that all the time, and like that's pretty true to life, I would think. But sorry, I should say, get the hell out of here. Keep this PG.
Too late, man. It's like
it's too late. I know.
There's
I know.
all over
You
this
just
thing.
bleep me.
Remmick in this episode just brought back bad, like, working in the office memories. Of like being there and having somebody like looking over your shoulder, and you're like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
They're like, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not doing what I'm doing while you're here.
Okay, this is totally off topic in relation to Star Trek, but my biggest pet peeve when I used to work in an office is when somebody would come by and they're saying, "Hey, are you busy?"
It's like, no, I'm not busy. I'm just sitting here waiting for you to come and ask me if I'm busy. It was always what made me so angry.
My biggest pet peeve is when somebody leaves my office and they're like, open or close, and I'm like, leave it open, but they basically close it except for like locking it, so I have to get up and then open it again. I'm like, open means open.
They go open. You say open, and then they almost close the door. They just like
Yeah,
keep it
they
a little bit.
leave like a little bit of an inch open, and I'm like, that's not open, that's closed. Just leave it open and get out.
My door is always partially open.
Exactly.
My door is always
for some
ajar.
people. My door's always ajar.
Okay,
except when I'm sleeping and it's closed.
We'll come back to Remmick in a little bit. I want to cover a few other things. Okay, Starbase matte painting and Starbase set.
10 out of 10.
I like
read
it.
about it. I really like it.
I love every matte painting and model that we get to see.
I
do feel like it was
on the main dome. You can see like the little like Federation symbol, just like on the main dome. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I'd had to go back and look at it, but was there always like little shuttles flying over it? Or was that in addition when they remastered it? I don't know. I can actually check right now because I have. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what the differences are. I'm like, I don't know if those shuttles were always there because I think the map paintings were a little static in early TNG. Like, and then with the remaster, they add some moving elements like people or whatever to just kind of, add to the realism of it.
Yeah, they showed that map painting like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, in the episode.
Yeah, in the episode. Yeah, and I think every time there was a shuttle coming in, right?
Yeah, I don't even know. But it was coming from like different ways. So that was fine. Do you guys know what the name of that shuttle is?
The Atlas.
You would be incorrect. No, you don't. You either know or you don't know. Alan, you don't know? The name of the shuttle? Those shuttles, they have a name.
Oh, like the brand of the shuttle?
Worker bee? Yes, it's the Worker bee. Exactly.
Those shuttles are called Worker bees?
They're called Worker bees. They were designed for Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Wow.
And they're called Worker bees.
That is super nerdy. So irrelevant.
super completely irrelevant. There's a Worker bee in this episode that we were just talking about. Okay, so yeah, I thought the map painting is amazing. It's painted in, and then it's animated with lights, and I don't know exactly how they did it. And I'd have to look at the original version versus the newer version, but I'd be curious to see the differences there. Yeah, but the map painting was done. And that's what I liked about the first season is they invested in some nice map paintings. And I don't think this one ever came back either, considering how cool it is. So. Yeah. And I also like the inside of the Starbase. It's a really cool set, and it feels real and lived in. Considering it's probably only like 2 hallways in a room. Yeah, the only thing I hate is that in the HD version, I don't really feel like I noticed it in the original, but when they're standing in front of that, again, that's just a painting too of like the hallway. Yeah, you could tell that they're in front of a painting of the hallway, trying to give you a forced perspective or whatever the term
your mistake is watching the HD version. You have to watch it on
you could almost see the shadows of the fact it's a wall.
640 by 480.
Lit. Oh, I love that. Whenever they have, because they have one of those that they only use very rarely of the Enterprise hallway, and you see it in the pilot episode to extend the hallway, and it looks so good. I love whenever they use one of those. Yeah, I love the one in the pilot, but I noticed this one really stood out to me that was like a painting of a hallway. Yeah.
I'd love to see like an extra walk right into it. Go, oh,
the wall wiggle or something. Yeah. Yeah. Get a stagehand in behind you, like, oh, I just bumped into them. It was so
Uh,
realistic. I couldn't tell
I could.
tell the
That's amazing. Yeah, who painted this? It's like Wile E. Coyote when he runs into the painting of the tunnel on a cave.
Yeah, exactly. But all you got to do is throw a black circle. on it.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, or some TNT.
Lowell's like, what? Lowell's like, what is going on?
I know.
well,
Okay.
I didn't notice anyone standing in front of a painting, so I guess I didn't have the HD version.
They just need to put some CGI people back there. Maybe it would look a little more realistic.
I don't think so. No, you don't. You don't want the HD version. Then you start seeing all the mistakes.
Yeah, I like it. I like the aesthetic. I think it's at a point now where it's not about realism. It's all about aesthetic for me.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
even if it looks fake, it doesn't matter because it looks. I like the look of it. I like the aesthetic. Okay, next keyword. Everybody ready? No.
Okay.
Mordock.
The Mordock? The Benzite who constructed the Mordock strategy? I thought you were already in the academy.
No, only a hopeful like you.
Oh, Mordock. I love Mordock.
I love Mordock too.
He's great. He's great. Does he
He's
come
very
back?
he's very alien.
He doesn't-
In a fashion, he comes back in season 2.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I love him. I love everything about his character. I love his makeup. I love the little aerosol thing that he's being sprayed with.
Yeah.
Who knows what's in there? It's probably meth or something.
I thought that it was like
alien
moisture.
design, and I liked it.
I thought
Why
that he
didn't
was like, because he looked kind of like fishy to me, so I thought the thing in front of it was just like moisture, like you know, like
gills.
like air droplets, because he needs to have like humid, like he needs the humidity.
I just assumed it was atmosphere. Like he needed.
I
he
assumed it
needed
was
to
atmosphere
breathe.
too.
Yeah, like he needed to breathe something.
I like
But then-
Noah's theory. That's the best one.
Like water, because he's like he looks kind of fishy.
Why wouldn't he need it for his whole body? Why just like the lip area? Why not
Because
just
he's
carry some
breathing it
chapstick?
in. Because he's breathing it in to his lungs. Like he needs a certain percentage of humidity in the air for it to be fully
interesting.
functional.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs extra oxygen or nitrogen.
So like he doesn't
the-
necessarily he doesn't need to be
not the
like
right
submerged
ratio.
in water, but
Yeah.
he needs to have certain amount of humidity in the air.
Maybe he's
What's the,
vaping.
what's
It's
what's the
strawberry
name?
flavored.
What's the name of that the same character? So he comes back, but it's not him. This is what happened.
Menden in season 2.
Right.
Matt
So this
O'Connor.
is what happened is that they spent all that money making that mask for that actor, and they were like, well, if we hire a different actor, we're gonna have to like do the whole thing again. We're gonna have to plaster somebody's face and build a mask. So let's just bring the same actor again, but we'll just call him a different name. But because he looks exactly the same, and even though they've repeated actors before, they have Wesley call it out, and he goes, "Hey, Mordock," Mordock, and the other guy and Mendor, is what his name is?
Menden.
Menden says, "Oh no, I'm not Mordock." But he's like, "Well, you guys look so much the same." It's like, "Oh, we're from the same planet."
No, he says we're from the same geostructure. So there's like a lot of identical looking people in that sort of group on their planet. He calls it a geostructure in the episode.
I remember that, but I always had this pet theory that it was that Mordock didn't actually like Wesley, and so was pretending he was somebody else. Like, no, I'm not Mordock. I'm Mendla.
I got one for before you drop another keyword. Is like I want to ask: is this the first episode where we see Riker do the Riker maneuver over the chair, the leg over the chair, the weird sitting?
Yeah.
Weird sitting.
Good question. I don't think so. I have a feeling that he's done it before.
Oh, everybody's breaking up again.
Did anyone else think that was like a little weird?
Go ahead, Lola.
Like it was
And then he got right in Remmick's face like they were going to kiss. I thought they were going to kiss. Like, but yeah, I just feel like this is the first appearance of the leg over the chair.
Is it? I mean, you would know for sure, but I'm pretty sure we've seen it before.
I don't know.
I just felt
I
that
don't know.
was the first time I seen
yeah,
it.
I noticed it in this episode too, and I haven't noticed another one, but I can't tell you for sure.
I noticed that when he did it, when I watched it for the first time this episode, just because it felt very inappropriate.
I think
So it's good to
I
know that
think
he's going to do it again. I look
but his
all
whole
he does it
origin
again.
seems like when he does it in this episode, it's kind of like a power move because he kind of like comes in and he leans in real close, like he's gonna kiss him, and but then he just kind of adopts that and just does it just in general, like sitting at the bar or for dinner or
I thought
meeting
it was
your
weird 'cause he's
friend.
like I thought it was weird because he's like about to confront this guy that he really hates, and then he like spreads his legs like that, and it's like, what is this? Like that didn't seem like a power move to me. It just seemed like a little inappropriate. Like not like weird inappropriate, but just like inappropriate for the situation. Like it felt like
It just felt like he was making this odd lunge towards Remmick. He's like, "You listen here," like it's a whole John Wayne cowboy thing. Like, he's
well, he was just so like exaggerated about it. Like he like kicked his leg up in the air and like sat down. It's like,
listen here, you're gonna watch my interpretive dance.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, that was my little.
Is everybody ready for the next keyword? You praise. TAC Officer Chang.
Tack Officer, I like him. I thought he was a great character. I thought he was he set the perfect tone of just kind of being like a little bit kind of strict, but not quite, guiding everybody, but not really telling them what to do. He was a great character. I wish he came back.
Yeah, I loved him. I remember watching this episode. I was about the same age as Wesley is in this episode when this episode first came out, and I watched it. And I was like, that guy's so cool. I wish he was my teacher. And I imagine that when I went to college, or I wish when I went to college that there would be somebody as cool as that guy that would be teaching at the college, but it didn't happen.
No, they're just all your teachers were just like lamenting their lost careers. Now they had to teach people like you.
Yeah, they were all filmmakers that they were like, what am I doing here? I was meant for greatness.
That's right.
Lola, do you have any thoughts about TAC Officer Chang?
no, to be honest, I feel kind of bad now. I thought he was fine, but I didn't really.
You didn't notice him at all? You weren't like, that guy.
Well, since I didn't notice him, I was like, oh, he seems like a good teacher, but like to me, he wasn't like an emotionally relevant character, so I didn't really give him much regard, I guess.
Well, I feel like he really is, because
I thought that the Wesley portion of the episode was the most interesting portion, especially the whole lead up or the anticipation to the psych test, because he seems to be really worried about it. And I really liked the heart-to-heart that Worf and Wesley have about fear. I thought that was like a really interesting moment for both of them, because it really deepened Worf's character, and Wesley learned something. And also I just like seeing Wesley in like that academic setting and interacting with other sort of student type characters. Yeah, it was really good. And Worf even admits during their heart-to-heart that he doesn't like feeling like he's dependent on other people. And then Wesley's like, oh, but on the Enterprise, you're always dependent on other people. We're all dependent on each other to protect each other. And then Worf's like, exactly. And so it's interesting to acknowledge that mental hurdle Worf has like in everyday life. I was like, this is not a Worf episode, but I really like that scene. It's probably my favorite scene in the episode.
Yeah.
And I liked that Wesley just learned a lot.
Okay, let's hear from Alan and Amir, and then we can come back to
Yeah, I like Wesley in this episode. I feel like this episode and When the Bow Breaks, they probably did Wesley's character the best in the first season. It was definitely a step up from how juvenile they played him in, like, say, The Naked Now or Justice, where he came off as a small boy, where he actually feels like his age in this one. And the only thing I think they gave a little bit of a disservice was, I feel like, I mean, I'm not huge on romance, but I feel like there should have been like a little bit of a romance between him and the girl, the other girl, I don't know her name.
Oleana.
Yeah.
When I
like,
was 13, I had a crush on her. I was like,
Oh yeah, she was super super cute. If I was Wesley, I was like, oh Jesus, girl says I'm cute. I'm like, I'm gonna go for this. And and I just feel like there was a little spark there. It would have been nice if they had to just punch that up a bit. Maybe gave him his first kiss or something with her to kind of do all that. But as for like trying to figure out your career path and your future and just acting like a normal teenager at that age, like I feel like this is a much better portrayal for Wesley Crusher, and and I didn't mind the character in this one at all. Like I actually enjoyed seeing Wesley and his interactions with all his competition and the crew of the Enterprise. It was all great stuff from Will Wheaton. So I'm glad they gave him some meat finally instead of just being boy genius or annoying kid hero. So
Well, on the topic of annoying, my favorite line from this episode is when Oleana says, "It's a good thing you're cute, Wesley, or you could really be obnoxious." It made me think of you because you're always talking about how annoying you think Wesley is.
And Alan also thinks he's cute.
Yeah.
so okay. So what are you gonna say?
Those dreamy eyes.
What were we gonna say, Namir?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think I'm starting to realize that I like Wesley in this episode as well, and I agree with Lola that Worf scene was really great. I feel like that's the first time that you really got some insight into Worf as a character and sort of who he actually is. So that was fantastic. And I'm starting to think that maybe I don't think Wesley is as annoying as I thought he was. All right, like he may have been kind of annoying in the first couple of episodes, but he's either starting to grow on me or I'm starting to realize that I've just been reading too many posts about how Wesley sucks online. And maybe he's actually not that bad. I mean, we'll see later in the season and in additional seasons, but I don't mind him so much. I think his character plays a kind of an important role in the series. And I think they do kind of like misuse him a lot, but in this episode he's really great.
Yeah, I think when they find his I don't know what to call it, but like his niche or like his territory, like this is a great this episode is really interesting because you've never really seen had like a look into the process of enrolling in Starfleet and the examinations and whatever that is. You'd always imagine that there was some sort of admittance process, but you get to see it from the ground level because of Wesley and all the pressure. And then it also brings up a theme where there's this there's this theme about young people and the pressure to achieve, and there's that other guy who he doesn't get selected to do the entrance exam, and then he basically tries to run away and gets into this shuttle accident. And I thought that really, I mean, still now, but when I watched it at the time, I was, like I said, I was around that age, and it really resonated to me, and it was something that felt really, really real. So for Wesley to go through something like that and be dealing with real things, like talking to girls, going to exams, and then dealing with his big fear, the psych test, well, that made him really human, much more than when he's being treated like this genius level Mozart, Yeah,
I agree. So do you think that this seems like a pretty rigorous process just to get into the Federation?
You mean Starfleet?
Yeah, I mean, is it just Starfleet, or is it like it's yeah, right, like Starfleet for sure.
Yeah, the federal.
Yeah, sorry.
It makes me wonder how bad Jake was to, how bad a student he was when Ileana or whatever her name is there, because or Oleana, what is her name again? I never remember. Oleana. Because the fact that she didn't know what the intermix ratio for antimatter and matter was, it really threw me. I'm like, even me with fake physics knowledge or whatever, I was like, oh well, I know it's like they cancel each other out. I'm like, obviously it'd be 1-to-1. I'm like, what? It's like, oh, it comes so easily to all of you. I'm like, it should come easily to you too. Why are you here if you don't know this?
Maybe she had talents. Like maybe she had talents that manifested in other ways. That showed up in other ways. Like maybe she had a different skill set.
But that trick question seems so obvious to me. I don't know, even though I'm not an astronaut or a rocket scientist.
Well, you're
why are you answering the questions from a fake show? Like the answer could be anything, really. They could have said 0 to infinity times gabillion, and you would have been like, okay, yeah, I guess so.
I think.
I don't know. Antimatter, matter, just say 1-to-1. Obviously, anything else and something would explode because it has to be a controlled combination of matter and antimatter. It can't be 2 matter to 1 antimatter. It wouldn't work.
Okay, well, the next time I'm going to another planet, I'm trying to figure out the dilithium intermix ratio. Then I'll remember this conversation.
Yes, don't make her same mistake.
Have any of you guys ever played Star Trek Catan? Because one of the resources you can gather is dilithium.
Really, I didn't know there was a Star Trek Catan. I'm gonna.
Yeah, it was the first version of Catan I ever played, right, Father?
Yeah, because I think we got it for you for Christmas or something.
I think you just had it at the house. Not anymore.
No, it was
Star Trek stuff you could find.
Wait a second. Do you guys all play Catan?
When I was a kid, we played a couple times.
A long time ago. Why you want to play? You want to play on right here on the Zoom?
I think we should totally play. I think that would be awesome.
Is there virtual Catan?
Lucas and I did a lot of Star Trek trivia, which I schooled him in a lot.
We should. If the 4 of us should absolutely play, because then we can record it and like our jokes and whatever. That would make a good video.
That's true.
Okay,
that's true. The best part of that video would be when I win.
Take like days to play.
Actually, I won when I was a child. I won against my dad. So
yeah, I know. But
I'm kind of the Wesley of this.
Isn't that like
child
genius?
genius.
It takes like 12 hours to play.
No. Well, maybe the way you guys play.
No, it takes like a couple hours. Okay, let's get us back on track here, people.
There is a problem with this ship, Mr. Data. It's in the records. Somewhere. I need your help to find it.
So let's talk about the Remmick witch hunt.
Like the witch hunt against Remmick, or his witch hunt against Picard?
No, his witch hunt. Well, I don't know, whichever way you want to interpret it.
Well, like Amir said earlier, Remmick was really just doing his job. Like an admiral was telling him, you have to investigate Picard because he might be compromised. So he investigated him. Like he was just doing his job. Like there's really not much to it, if you ask me.
I think
I'm on Remmick's side, actually. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ferris Bueller, where it's like, you're against the principal, but really the principal's just doing his job. He's like
well, the principal wasn't doing his job when he went to his house.
No, yeah.
Well, I guess he went a little overboard, but
no, not a little.
He was over the top.
He just wants people to attend school.
No, the principal in Ferris Bueller had like a superiority complex and was a little.
You're thinking about the principal in Breakfast Club. That could be.
Yes, that's what you're thinking.
Maybe I'm thinking more of the Breakfast Club.
You're thinking of Breakfast Club. That's a better example. The principal in Ferris Bueller was kind of obsessed with Ferris.
Rein us in.
Okay, Remmick.
Oh yeah, the Remmick witch hunt. Yes. No, I like you had mentioned earlier. I like the how it established some continuity inside the universe, and we were referencing like the older episodes. I'm like, I get that reference. So I like that about it. Other than that, I mean, I don't feel like he well, I guess he even admits he doesn't find any bombshells, so ultimately it does nothing. But you know, it makes an awkward segue to offering Picard a promotion. Sorry for tormenting your crew, but I really want you to come be the dean at Starfleet Academy. So just had to make sure you were cool. So,
Is Remmick the key word right now?
Yes, Remmick.
Okay.
Which one?
On topic of Remmick, there was a Remmick scene that I really liked. Okay. So there's like a kind of there's that sequence where Remmick is interrogating the crew of the Enterprise, and they do a really cool thing where they play with the shot reverse shot, classic continuity editing thing where we start like on Data and he's talking, and then we cut to Remmick, but then you see Worf in the reflection, then we cut back to Worf, then we cut back to Remmick who gets up, then we cut back to Beverly, and then we cut back to Remmick, and then it cuts to Picard. And so I just really like that scene. It's probably my second favorite scene because they do a cool editing thing. They play with editing and space and time, and
Well, it's really well written. It's really well directed. And it's really well edited. It's pretty like one of the things that makes the episode like top notch.
I thought the guy who played Remmick was great. He was like, so you instantly knew that you weren't supposed to like him. I was watching this episode with my daughter, and she just turned 9, and the first time he comes on screen, she's like, "Oh, we're not supposed to like him, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're not supposed to like him." And she's like, "Okay, good, because I don't like him." And I'm like, but really, there's no reason not to, other than the way that he plays him is so perfect for that character and how you're supposed to feel about that character. And it's kind of subtle, like you don't really key in on it, but you just know you don't like him. And I think part of it is because everybody else doesn't like him, but it's also just he's just unlikable.
I think and I feel like that was a sudden turn too, or maybe he just revealed his true personality when they do the shuttle rescue, and he's like, yes, and he's like, oh, he just wants to be part of the team. He's like, yeah, I just want to be with you guys. You guys are so awesome. It's like, oh, you just totally blew your whole hard-nosed detective persona.
I feel like I had
you guys are so awesome.
No, I agree with you, because I think I had a different view of Remmick than like Nimir did, I guess, because he wasn't like Kaczynski, where Kaczynski was like, I'm better than all of you because I'm really smart, blah 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 blah. He like was just like, I'm doing my job, don't talk to me, which is like rude, but like he's not acting like he's better than anyone else. Also, I already am, as I've made very clear in all of the reviews, I don't really like Riker. So when Riker had his big like blow up thing against Remmick, I was like, Team Remmick. Like, I hope he wins. And then
Team Remmick.
and then
Yeah.
And then Alan's right, because after Picard gets Jake out of danger, he's like, yes, like I'm so excited. And then he kind of like, gives Picard like a bit of scolding. But then like my dad mentioned at the end, when the thing is all over, he kind of drops his professional facade, I guess, and he's like, I would love to work here. This seems like a really great place. So it turns out like he was really just like, when I worked at Home Depot, I had a manager who was like that, where like off duty she was super chill, but when she was like on the clock, she was like kind of scary. And so like some people are just like that. Some people just like take their jobs really seriously, and like it can be a bit jarring when they're like on duty, but like duty, but when they're on the job, like they're a little more intense. But I don't know, Some people are like that.
Okay, this is a good segue to go into the next keyword, which is shuttlecraft rescue.
You are going to do exactly what I tell you. Now, take the nose of the shuttlecraft and aim it directly at Relva 7.
But aim it at Relva? I can't do that. That's crazy.
Do it.
You mean the Jake rescue? I mean,
Yes.
it's pretty clear why he didn't make it into the academy. Like they're like, yeah, you don't want that person in Starfleet. But I liked it. Like this, I think I mentioned last review that Star Trek doesn't really do action sequences that well, at least in the first few seasons. But I thought this was really good. Like there was a lot of tension. You kind of knew what was going on. You understood what was at stake. And then it was weird to me at first that it wasn't the climax of the episode, that it was kind of in the middle, but it worked, right? Like normally that type of scene would be kind of at the end, or that would be the thing that happens at the end, and then you wrap it up after that. But they put it in the middle, and it shouldn't work, but it does. It actually works really well. So I really liked it. I really liked that scene.
I think that scene worked because it was there for Picard to prove himself, right? Like, I think this episode, it's trying to make a little bit of a parallel between Picard and Wesley in the sense that they're both being tested throughout the episode. Obviously, Wesley, it's a lot more obvious because he's like trying to get it into the academy, but Picard doesn't know that he's the one being investigated. But in that scene, he proves himself to be competent because up until that point, Remmick's pretty much going around the whole crew being like, oh, so like Picard is incompetent. Like he did do that mistake. Like he did have a lapse in judgment. And then in that scene, Remmick kind of is really impressed by him. And so it's Picard, without realizing it, is simply just proving himself to Remmick. And then, Remmick does go back to being a bit of a jerk, but
Yeah, I think this scene is one of the better climactic or action scenes in the first season. I like the opticals of the shuttle and interacting with the atmosphere. Yes, it was more exciting than your typical first season action scene. And I like to say that it was one of the first times too where I felt like Picard was really fitting well into his role as captain, like an authority figure, and he had the right answers at the time to get to rescue Jake and guide him through his crisis, and and the scene at the end where Picard meets Jake in the hallway, like it was like a growth moment for Picard too, because he was interacting again with basically a kid, but it was a good father-son type or mentee moment,
Mentos.
and Picard, Mentos, and Picard just did really a really good job with that, and where he's being disciplined, but he knows that he's putting this kid on the right path, and that he has potential, and it's like no kid left behind. Picard's going to make sure that you're the best you could be. So
it's true, because
I just like that Patrick Stewart just did a great job in this episode with Picard.
So both Picard and Wesley Crusher were both coming of age in this episode.
Yes.
Good job.
I think
Thank
Alan,
you.
I think Alan makes a good point about Picard trying to give that kid good advice and put him on the right path, because in the very next scene he does the same thing with Wesley after Wesley talks about how he feels like he's failed him for not getting into the academy. And then Picard's like, well, if you tried your best, then we're proud of you, and also like I kind of failed my first time, so like it's not the end of the world. And so he does it twice in a row, so I think it really cements Picard as
it was a really sweet moment of him opening that.
Like a good mentor
I think
figure.
that scene in the hallway with Jake is the moment when he realizes that he doesn't want to take the admiral position, right? He's just like, oh, this is where I belong. And you can see it in Patrick Stewart's acting, right? Like he's just like, oh, he's got that realization, right? He's got that moment of, I guess, revelation or whatever.
I think what I really like about that whole sequence, I mean, I agree with everything you guys said. But what I really love about that sequence, the shuttlecraft rescue sequence, is that it's really the first time that you see kind of like there's an emergency and everybody's doing their job to resolve the emergency, and it's all this like professional, like by the numbers. I mean, aside from this sort of dramatic thing where Picard really could have explained, this is what we're going to do. He could have just said, you're going to bounce off the atmosphere, just, but, they do it dramatically. So you're like, what is he doing? Why is he telling him to aim towards the planet? Everybody's like, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to kill this kid?
And Picard's like, because I hate Jake.
Because I hate kids.
I hate children.
I hate kids. I'm sleeping with his mother. So, but like I really like how it really shows how good Picard is too. Like he's got it all figured out, and and also his leadership. Now you listen to me. We're gonna do A, B, C, D, and people have to completely 100% trust him. But that trust is deserved because it saves that guy's life. Yeah, if he hadn't trusted Picard, listened to him, he'd be dead. So it was unique in the way that it and I really liked it. And and I sort of said it before, there was sort of this theme of like the societal pressure to achieve, and it's not something that the type of things that gets explored in science fiction very much. But the whole episode kind of reduced this whole space show into like a very human kind of situation. Like we all recognize, like we were saying earlier, like, oh, the efficiency expert kind of like, it's like the workplace kind of thing, and school and workplace, like that is basically what the episode was,
Excuse me. You blocked my path. You Bulgarian sludge rat.
Next subject. Wesley runs into a bro.
Oh.
You mean the Zoldan? That scene did confuse me at first because I was like, this is out of character for Wesley, but then they explain, so I guess it's okay.
It just showed that Wesley is a capable young man when it comes to dealing with situations. He has knowledge of other cultures, and he can put that knowledge to good use in how to use it. So I thought that was a good moment for Wesley to show him in control of the situation.
I don't have too much to say about that scene. I liked it. I thought it was I like the way that they approached kind of the tests in during that entire storyline with Wesley, where they're not always in that little chamber on their computer is going beep, 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 beep. Like there's real world tests, and you only find out it's a test afterwards. I think that was a really kind of cool and interesting way of doing it. Yeah, I like the scene. I think it fit. I mean, it wasn't really special. I don't know if it deserved its own keyword.
What does he call him? Not a Danevian slime devil. He calls him something else. Something. Oh, I love that sequence. I just remember seeing that again. I mean, so much of this, of me viewing this episode is colored by my memories of seeing it for the first time in 1987, and how so many parts of the episode I remember. I remember that scene specifically, and it jumped out because I think I was always conflict averse and afraid of bumping into a very large guy, or at a high school or something. And so that whole scene where he was able to kind of figure out the solution intellectually and really lean into okay, I know this piece of information, but he could have been wrong, and he could have just got his ass kicked. Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this strategy if you run into a bully in the school hallway. I think you're putting yourself at risk there.
Do you want this to become violent? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I do. And then I'm going to take your lunch money immediately.
I love that guy, and he's like, "I like you, friend," and he's got the little webbed hands and stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember this episode really well, but I realized afterwards that I was blending it in with Conspiracy because I was expecting scenes that I remember from Conspiracy to be in this episode. And I'm not going to talk about it because Lola hasn't seen it yet. But I was like surprised. I was like, hey, when is that scene going to happen with Riker and the Admiral? And it never happened. I was like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, it's not in this one. It's in the next one.
Lola will enjoy that.
Does he get hit?
Yeah. I'm not ruining anything for you.
No,
it's a good one.
Okay,
it's a good episode.
Okay. I got my last keyword of the day. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Is it psych test? I bet you it's psych test.
Okay, Alan.
You all have an hour to prepare for your last test.
The psych test, sir?
We prefer to think of it as a psychological evaluation based on reactions to various individual problems, but psych test will do.
I was a little underwhelmed by the psych test just because I thought it would be a little more like emotional, I guess.
I thought it was perfect.
I thought it was great. Yeah.
Oh.
Like he basically had to. He knew that
Lola's clearly wrong.
Hey, this is subjective.
It's the same as his encounter with that Zaldon guy. It's like he just took control of the situation, and he rose above. He could potentially end up killing himself and everybody in that room. By trying to rescue the other guy. And he just said, okay, buddy, you're going to die, I guess. And he just accepted that and just kept doing what he had to do to save himself and the guys that he was capable of saving. And it was again, a great moment for Wesley. And it showed that he was perfectly capable of taking control of the situation and doing what had to be done to.
And is this the first time where they kind of mention what happened to Wesley's dad? Right, because do they talk about Picard making a choice between Wesley's dad and other people, like leaving Wesley's dad to die before this episode?
I don't know. You watched all the same episodes we watched, or did you?
No, I did theoretically, but I'm asking because you guys
like
watched it multiple times.
I feel like there's some mention about it in the pilot, maybe.
I think there's a mention, yeah, but no, I think you're right, Namir. I think this is the first time that they're specifically saying that there was a choice to be made, basically. I don't think that this is the most detail that we really ever hear.
Do they address it later on? Do they actually explain what happened?
They don't.
That's so funny. I wonder if they're going to talk about it
again. Am I still
No, you're
here?
We should. You know what we should do? We should just pretend.
Here? I don't know.
We should just pretend Alan is frozen when he's actually not.
You guys are mean.
But I wonder if they're going to address it in Picard season 3, right?
That's what I think they should have did in season 2. That's what I keep saying about season 2. It's like that was what the trauma should have been, but no, had to be Mama.
My mom.
I love the whole psych test. I love how it's introduced slowly, and it's like this foreboding thing at the end of the episode. And like, I totally buy into it. I'm always like stressed for Wesley. I believe that he's stressed. And then I love that moment where he's like getting all worked up, and they put him in that room, and it's so quiet. And he's just waiting. And he's just like waiting, and I'm like, what's gonna happen? And then and he, like, it's fun because they trick him, but they also trick me as the audience, because I hear the accident, he goes, I'm like, there's an accident, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, aha, it's just a test. And I'm like, what? Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I totally fell for it. I did not. It didn't occur to me that this was a test until they were like, "Hey, it's a test," And then the two guys walk out. One shakes his hand, and the other one's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And then take off.
Maybe that's why I had a different experience from you guys, because I did not think it wasn't a test.
Oh.
Well, that's what and I feel like I'm like Lola, whereas like something weird is going on because she goes out, he hears an explosion, but there's like no action in the hallway. Is everybody sitting still? Because I feel like everybody's froze again. Hello? No? Oh my god. Ah!
I really look forward to looking. I look forward to seeing. I hope it records the way that we see it.
I think it does. I hope. Oh my god! I hope it records it that way. That was amazing.
It's gonna be so good, man.
Well, at least we got my QuickTime movie to go to. So I'm making all these great points.
I know. That's why I didn't interrupt you, because I know that you're.
I don't know what I was saying anymore. I don't know.
The only thing that doesn't make sense is how convoluted the test is. Imagine if they have to do that every time for a psych test. Like they have to evacuate the base so they can like stage a fake accident in a different part of the base. So like, I wonder if that's what the whole base is. The whole base is just all these fake workers doing fake things and setting up these these tests and stuff. Nothing's actually happening.
The whole base is a giant escape room.
I honestly thought that the psych test was going to be like when he walked into that room with like the lonely chair. I assumed that room was a holodeck made to look like a normal room, and then the moment the door closed, it was going. Well, this is what I thought it was going to happen. And the moment the door closed, it was everything from then on was just going to be in a holodeck. But obviously Wesley wouldn't know that because he walked in and it's programmed to look like a normal room. And that's what I thought it was going to be. Like that would make sense to me, because then he could think he's leaving the room and doing stuff outside, but really there'd be no like actual damage to the building.
Oh,
but then
that's a good point. Like that whole section of the base could have been a holodeck, right? That he didn't realize he was entering.
Well, I thought that just that room, like that room with the single chair, was the holodeck. And then when he thought he left, he was really still just in that room.
He was just still in the holodeck. No, that could work. That would make sense. I buy
that.
But
then so I thought it was weird that there were actors, because it's like, what if the actor like tripped, fell, and like said "ow," and it was like out of character? You know what I mean? So
we're gonna call
because like they have these really realistic holodecks that look and feel real, and the people in there feel real. Like you can touch them. Like I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it was just what I thought about.
Just imagine those guys' jobs, like their job is to act, and when they go out into the world, people are like, "Hey, so what do you do?" Like, "Oh, I work for Starfleet." What do you do? Well, I'm a test subject actor,
training actor.
I just pretend to die every day.
The worst part about that would be if they had to go through the same test to get into Starfleet, and they just ended up doing this
over and over again.
Yeah.
All right, I think we covered everything. Do you guys have anything else to say before we go to the ratings?
I did. You know what? I felt bad for Remmick. I did at the end, where he's like, "You're like a family. I would really love to join your crew." And Picard's like, "I don't think so." Yeah, basically, he just gives him the middle finger. Remember's like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
I did that, but on accident.
What?
The middle finger scratch thing? I've done that, but on accident. Like I was genuinely just scratching my like forehead, and then I realized I was pointing the middle finger. No one's ever done that, because I do it like all the time.
Really? That's kind of awkward. That's not like your dominant finger.
I don't know, because I'll just be like this. It's not. This is
it's the biggest. It's the biggest finger. It's the most accessible to your.
That's true.
Yeah.
I should really start
using
for
nose picking.
Get straight up. Okay. Let's get back on track, guys.
I'll just type like this.
So let's start with Alan. What is what is your rating and final thoughts on this episode? Go.
Okay. I just don't know if I'm going to screw up here with this computer. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10, I think. I'm going to give this one a higher mark than I thought I would have originally before rewatching it now. I would put this first season offering, right up there with like where no man or no one has gone before. I really enjoyed everything about this one. It had no logic flaws. None of the characters did stupid things. The story made sense. All the characters were interesting and felt true to life. So, 8 out of 10 for this one.
So I really love this episode, but I'm going to give it a 7 because I can't give it an 8 because I think there's better episodes coming up. So I need to give myself some rating room so that I can actually give those episodes an 8 or 9 or 10. So I'm gonna give it a 7, but I love this episode.
You're gonna be 49 years old by the time we get to those episodes. You could just give people like 8s now,
No one's gonna watch this and remember.
Yeah, I mean, good point. Yeah, you're right. I give it a
10. Our 20 subscribers don't care.
Yeah.
27.
I'll give it a 15.
27. Okay, Lola.
Yeah, I think I'd give this an 8 out of 10 as well. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed mostly the Wesley segments. I feel like he learns a lot as a character. We learn a bit about other characters. And it's just a really good character-based episode. And the story really provides a lot of great scenes for like characterization to happen. So, and I really enjoy any episodes like that, I guess. So yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. Good time.
I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 because it's not quite an 8 and it's more than a 7. But yeah, it's not my favorite episode of season 1. That is yet to come. But I really enjoy it a lot. There's lots. It's a really well made episode. It's definitely like top tier season 1, and I'm always. In fact, I like it so much that I had watched it like 3 weeks ago just for fun, not even for this channel. So there we go. Okay, so we'll be back next week to review yet another episode of Star Trek Next Generation. Next week, we'll be back for Heart of Glory, the Klingons.
Glory.
Ooh, exciting.
Glory to you in your house.
Bye.
Just where in the future, the things we've done instead. Let's just push the button, we'd be back.